Hey YouTube, welcome back to all my returning subscribers. Thank you for coming out and checking this video. And then hello to any new viewers to this channel. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. So today I wanted to but talk about my opinion about this article that was just posted. It came out about 4 days ago. I was going to try to post right after as soon as I saw it, but sadly it didn't happen, so here I am now. It's about actually the Department of Defense, or DoD. They're talking about, getting people out who are non-deployable. So within a 12-month span, if you can't deploy, they're going to try to separate you, either admin or medical, I believe. That's what I read from what I remember in the article. The article is on militarytimes.com. You can Google that, just put non-deployable, and I think it should be like the first article. I'll put the link below in the description so you guys can check it out right there from there. Then check out this channel video as well, or vice versa, whichever you want to do. But pretty much is a little background information. Is pretty much when you join the military, any branch, you're there's a good high chance, and one of the biggest reasons why you join is to go deploy to one of those hostile environments or those areas that they need you in the military for that one. So all the service members, they're technically able to deploy. I believe there's, from the articles, about from active reserves guards in all 5 branches, there's about 2.3 million, give or take, of who are currently serving. And about 11% of that, I think that rounds to about 100,000, a little more than that, who are non-deployable. So 11% of that force is non-deployable. The non-deployable, there's a plethora of reasons, but from what they're breaking it down in the article, they're saying first is this group of, I believe, is about 60 or 50,000 who are not because of immunizations or dental. Simply is you have to get cleared through dental, make sure your immunizations are up to date to be able to deploy. So that one's a quick fix. Then there's about 20,000 who are pregnant. If you become pregnant in the military, then you cannot deploy and all that. And then the last one is long-term or short-term reasons why you're non-deployable, and I think that's the largest one. If I'm not mistaken, it's like 80,000 plus. If I can't remember, I don't know the exact number. It shows in the article, but that's pretty much the 3 categories they broke down and all that. In their view, like I said, is they think about that, the immunizations and dental clinic, they can clear that right up and all that. The pregnancy, they don't talk about that one, but when you're pregnant and all that, and after you give birth to your child, you have about almost a year of recovery from what I'm reading and following. But I guess from talking to some of my friends who are still in the military, you can wait that right and deploy right away. So that one's still unsure. The article, I tried deciphering it, but it didn't seem like to go much into it. Then the long-term and short-term, this can be from a plethora of different reasons. Like I said, the long-term and short-terms, you can be either physically or emotionally or mentally, put on a waiver or a profile that makes you non-deployable. So that for example, if you get hurt at work, from there, or getting hurt from PT, physical training, or you get shin splits, you break an arm, break a leg, sadly, those things that happen for military stuff like that. Those ones that can be, that's everyday job. Those ones are put a waiver if you can't go within your 1-year mark. But then they were talking about in the more ones, if you get injured playing sports and stuff and like that. The biggest emphasis on the article is they have the technology, the medical resources in the military to help you to the recovery process. So that's what they're trying to say. Within that year span, if you can't recover and you're not taking initiative to recover from the injuries that you got, then maybe it's time for you to separate. That's because they need a fit fighting force from physically, mentally, emotionally. You have to be fit and ready to deploy. So that's what they're trying to emphasize. And then you do have the mental issues, people have if they're going to any kind of mental mental issues like anxiety, depression, all those ones, and just many more. And just the feelings of loneliness, all that, those ones can also be a disqualifying factor going to, depending on the base. So that's another one. They want to go on the path of recovery. I think that's something that you can waive if you're 1-year mark. But again, they're focusing, because from what there is said in the article, the biggest thing what they were saying is if you can't recover from these ones, like the long or short term reasons why you can't deploy, in their path, they want you to separate because they want to get you the treatment from the VA or Veterans Affairs so that you can continue your treatment in the civilian world. But they need people who are physically ready, mentally ready, and emotionally ready to deploy. Because what people, if you don't really know much about the military, if you can't deploy, what happens is we're all broken down into cycles or groups. So you deploy for like some. I'm going on this Air Force perspective. Each branch is different, and the Air Force one can also fluctuate. I'm just going from what I can remember. It's usually a 6-month one. You go deploy. It can be longer or shorter, but then after that 6 months, you get what's called dwell time or downtime. So you can't deploy in the next 6 months. You can wait that and you can deploy, or that you can also, if you're needed, you can deploy as well, but they have to ask and make sure you're good to go for that. So after that, you go deploy again. But if you can't deploy within your band or your cycle, then what happens is someone else in that band or cycle whose name was maybe underneath would have to go, and if there's no one available, they might have to task it with someone else out of the cycle. So again, they may have just come back from deployment and they're going again. So it's just they're just trying emphasizing the article, the DoD, what they're trying to say is they're pretty much saying it's putting a strenuous stress across the military when these people cannot deploy, and people are going to have to continue filling those slots because it's taking a strain on them to be filling constantly because they're not getting that dwell or downtime and all that. And then these people who are still staying on these non-deployable status, they're still pushing it, and they're going to have to find the slots. Because worst case, what happens if the base that is giving that tasking to fill the deployment can't fill it, they would have to go to give that tasking to another base. And the bases that are giving those taskings, they rather fill those instead of give it to another base and all that. So that's what pretty much is the article is emphasizing about non-deployable. And I can see that from being in the military standpoint, that is one of the biggest things, and its emphasis, because people there are stories, this is just from my point of view and from what I learned, there are stories people trying to get out of those deployments. People who have gotten pregnant to avoid going to deploy. And as soon as that happened, they went to, what's it called, Planned Parenthood to get, I don't know what. But it's just showing they just got pregnant to go deploy. There have been incidents where people are faking an injury, faking, mental illness to avoid deployment. So now, when I was reading on social media, people reacting to this, they said finally, if those 11% people can't get ready for the deployment, let's push them out and get another 11% in who can actually serve and actually do their deployment that comes up. And I understand that completely. This allows it, but you have to understand also that the small group of people who try to get out of deployment is very small. I can speak on behalf, there are mentally issues that sadly doesn't allow you to go. So your base that you're supposed to deploy from, and to the actual receiving base where you're going to be deployed to, they actually the receiving the base that is going to deploy you, they can say, hey, you're good to go and all that. But the receiving base, if they don't have the capabilities to take care of you that you need, because it's broken down of what, hey, this person's okay, here's a waiver, but this is what they need for their issues or what they're going through. And if that receiving base that you're supposed to deploy to doesn't have the capabilities to take care of you, they're going to deny it. And there's nothing that your base that's trying to deploy you can do. So that's another factor that people have to remember. So, with these small incidents, just any kind of incidents, in society, when it's highlighted and people use it or mistreat it, the people who actually do need help, it's really frowned upon. And it's actually happened. The people who have replaced me for my deployments when I was in, they gave me that almost cold shoulders. I even was told wasn't kind of inconsiderate of you to can't get out of your deployment last minute. In my behalf, it was absolute. That took me blindsided me pretty much, because I had no control over it. I felt terrible that someone had to replace me. I wanted to go deploy, but I had no control over it. The decision was taken out of my hand and it was chosen. And that's what my thing is, what I'm trying to emphasize people who are saying this kind of stuff, is there are people there who are in serious need of help. And when them going out, it's sometimes out of their control. So just, have a little empathy and don't be completely tactless. But you have to understand and these issues people are going through, especially the mental ones, there are things people don't want, that they're not comfortable talking about it, because it's almost a taboo subject. They're scared because they know the ramifications of what would happen if they go to mental health. They know what's going to happen. Their deployment's going to get canceled. They're going to be looked at differently. So that's why they withdraw and try not to bring these up. And then when they actually decide to get help, it's all these issues are just pouring out, and what they're going through and been going through for maybe months or years being in the military. is finally being addressed. So you know what they're saying, like, you know, if you're going to let these people go, the 11% and all that, especially the ones who are on long-term or short-term non-deployable, if you were to let them go, make sure, you know, the VA is there to take care of them. Make sure, you know, right now the VA is like backlogged with claims and all that to get help and all that. If you're going to do this and you're going to push all these people out, then maybe you have to make sure that the VA is taken care of and they have the capabilities and the resources to take care of these military members. I am, from a big perspective wise, I completely understand what this is trying to do, and I'm in whole agreement. If you're not fit through physically, mentally, emotionally, and you can't deploy within like that year span, I can see completely why they want people in who can, and those who can't, they have to let go. The military in all branches, not just the Air Force, is the biggest thing is being able to complete the mission. And I can see if you're not ready or non-deployable, you're not fulfilling your obligation to completing the mission. So that's my point, guys. Go check out the article, see what I'm trying to talk about. If some of the information's data is off by a little bit, I apologize. I try to estimate as close as possible, but I think I'm pretty close to it. Give this video a like or share or dislike if you don't like what I just talked about. Give me your opinion, comment below. And as always, subscribe to my channel and share my channel. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. I'll definitely get back to, you know, doing these videos about, you know, helping, joining, all that, what life is in the military is like and what life is outside. But I still like just doing these kind of videos and reacting and see. I did one about a while back. Check that video about is like if racism is part of the military, you know, in the military. But, you know, not being in the military now, I hope it emphasized, yes, I like to making videos about the military, but these are all my point of views and my opinions. It doesn't relate to anything about the military. It's all my point of view and perspectives. Guys, again, subscribe to my channel. If you want to follow me on my other social media networks, it's Kotaro Prince on Instagram as well, and Kotaro Prince on Snapchat. So check it below. Have a good night.